Okay, so here's your guys' worksheet on the remainder and factor theorem. Okay, so just a tad bit of just problems I will go over with you guys, and then there's a homework on the back side for you guys to do as well. Okay, so it's just a reiteration or just more support on the lesson we did the other day. So students will be able to use their knowledge of remainder factor theorem to factor polynomials. So the remainder theorem, you guys, is when a polynomial f of x is divided by x minus a, the remainder is f of a. And the factor theorem is if we plug in the a into a polynomial of x and the remainder is 0, then that binomial x minus a is what we call a factor of the polynomial. So if we were to substitute in the opposite of this value, guys, into the equation or the polynomial, and it gave you guys a remainder of 0, then that is what we would call a factor. If it does not give us a remainder of 0, then that's not a factor. So we can find the remainders, you guys, by either plugging in the opposite of this into here or by using synthetic division. So the opposite of -3, you guys, is +3. Let's write down the coefficients. 3, 11, 5, and -3. And let's use synthetic division to see if this polynomial is actually a factor. So drop the 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 11 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. 60 plus 5 is 65. 65 times 3 is 195. 195 plus -3, 192. So this quantity is not 0, which means this factor, you guys, is this a factor? And the answer is no. This is not a factor. Why? Because that is not 0. It's only a factor, you guys, if the remainder is 0. Okay, what's the opposite of 3? -3. Write down the coefficients again, and then synthetic division. Multiply. 3 times -3 is -9. Add 11 minus 9 is 2. 2 times -3 is -6. Add, we get -1. -1 times -3, 3. Add, we get 0. So we did get a 0, right? So is this x plus 3 a factor? Yes, it is. Why? Because we got a remainder of 0. C, is that one a factor? Well, the opposite of that, -1 is 1. 3, 11, 5, and -3. So drop the 3 down. 3 times 1 is 3. Add 11 plus 3 is 14. 14 times 1 is 14. Add 19. 19 times 1 is 19. 19 plus -3 is 16. So we did not get 0, you guys, which means this x minus 1 is not a factor. So the answer is no, it's not a factor. Part D, opposite of 1 is -1. 3, 11, 5, and -3. Drop down the 3. -1 times 3, you guys, is -3. We add, we get 8. 8 times -1 is -8. We add, we get -3. And -1 times -3 is +3. And we add, we get 0. And since we got a remainder of 0, you guys, this means x plus 1, yes, it is a factor. So the most important thing you guys can take away is if you find a remainder and it's 0, that is what we call a factor. If it's not a 0, this is a plain old remainder. Okay, now let's look at example 2. So with example 2, you guys, we have this polynomial. We gotta find the factors, but they gave us 2 of the factors. Now, if we want to find our other factors, you guys, one thing to note is, do you guys see how it's x to the 4th power? And every time you guys use synthetic division, right? Notice the degree always decreases by 1 degree, right? So if we have a degree of 4, how many times would we have to use synthetic division in order to get it to a degree of 2? It would be 1 time use synthetic and another time use synthetic, because then our degree would be 2, you guys, And you guys all know how to factor by a degree of 2. The x method, right? When a is equals to 1 or when a is greater than 1. So, don't we know that we have factors of x plus 3 and x plus 2? So can't we use synthetic division with those to whittle the highest degree and whittle it down to be the second degree? So I'm going to use the first one. It does not matter what order you choose, but I'm just going to do the first one. So opposite of 3 is negative 3. Write down the coefficients of the polynomial. 1, negative 1, negative 19, negative 11, and 30. Drop the 1. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Add negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 3 is 12. Add these is negative 7. Negative 7 times negative 3 is 21. Add those, you guys get 10. 10 times negative 3 is negative 30. Add, you guys get 0. Now, we did synthetic division once, which means this degree should now be a degree of 3, right? But we also have another factor we can use synthetic division with. So opposite of 2 is negative 2. Now watch, you guys. I'm not going to use the coefficients of this. I'm going to use the coefficients of this new one. 1, negative 4, negative 7, and 10. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. You add those, negative 6. Negative 6 times negative 2 is positive 12. Add those, you get positive 5. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Add those, you guys get 0. Now watch, right? Well, first of all, it makes sense that both of these, you guys, gave you a remainder of 0 because this problem explicitly says that those are factors. And if you get factors, you get remainder of 0. Now watch this, you guys. Wasn't this one less than this one? And didn't we use this one for this one, you guys? So what degree should be here? It should be 1 less than that one. X to the second and x. So we have x squared minus 6x plus 5, you guys. And can't you use the x method to factor this out? 5, negative 6. Two numbers that multiply to 5, but when added gives you guys negative 6. That is 5 and negative 5 and negative 1. And since a is equals to 1, you guys, x minus 5 is one of our factors and x minus 1. And don't forget the factors that they gave us initially. So as you guys can see, if we have a high degree polynomial, it is possible to factor it all out by using a strategy is synthetic division, so that every time we use synthetic division, we go 1 degree lower, right? Until we get to a degree of 2, which enables us to factor using X method potentially. Okay, now another thing to notice, you guys, is it says find all the factors, right? These are what factors look like. This is not a factor. Those aren't factors, you guys. Those would be considered answers. So, in the next problem, do you guys see where it says to solve the equation? Anytime you guys find the zeros, find your roots, or solve for the equation, your final answer better be x is equals to something or some things, right? So in this problem, it says solve the equation. We have that polynomial given that, you guys, all of these are related to one another. If it says negative 3 is a 0, that is, you could relate that to saying x is equals to negative 3. And if you guys know x is equal to negative 3, you can change that to look like this. X plus 3 is a factor. So, anytime you guys see any of these, those all are different ways to say the same thing. Negative 3 is a 0, x equals negative 3, x plus 3 is a factor. So what we're going to do for this problem is, you guys, we're going to use this 0 and use synthetic division using that 0 so that we can get this degree of 3 to be a degree of 2. And then possibly factor that using X method to find your other factors and then solve. Negative 3 is our 0. Coefficients 3, 11, 5, and negative 3. Drop down to 3. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Add, we get 2. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Add, we get negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 3 is 3. Add, we get 0. Now, This highest degree is 3. After we use synthetic division, guys, this is x to the second x. So what we're really doing is we're just left with this. And can we factor that? We can. A times c up top, b on the bottom. We get 3, 2. So, negative 3 and 2. So two numbers that multiplied at negative 3, but when added gives you guys 2. That is 3 and negative 1. And since a is greater than 1, you guys, that means you guys gotta do it by grouping. First term, two middle terms, the last term. 3x squared plus 3x minus 1. Group. Factor out of 3x to get x plus 1. Factor out of negative 1 to get x plus 1. 3x minus 1 and x plus 1. And don't forget the factor we had originally, you guys, which was x plus 3, right? Because that's a 0 of negative 3, we got a factor of x plus 3. So now, we're not done, because we gotta solve for this, right? And notice this whole equation should be equals to 0, right? So, x would equals to negative 3 here, because when you plug in negative 3 into there, you guys, negative 3 plus 3 is 0. For this one, x has to equals to negative 1, because negative 1 plus 1 would give you guys 0. Now, for this one, it's 1/3, you guys, but in order to get 1/3, you take that whole factor and set it equals to 0. Now, some of you guys might be asking, why did you do it for that, but not these? We didn't do it for these, you guys, because the coefficient of this one is 3. This one was a coefficient of 1, and that one was a coefficient of 1. So just set the whole factor equal to 0 and solve for x. Add 1 to both sides, divide both sides by 3. X is equals to 1/3. And those are you guys' 3 zeros. Or your 3 answers. Okay? So hopefully this, made sense for you guys. And then on the other video, I'm just going to do the homework on that one. Okay? Good luck, everybody. Peace.